My name is Sarah. I'm in my 40s and about to celebrate my 10th wedding anniversary. We don't have kids, just living with my husband, Kevin. Kevin is 5 years older than me and a regular office worker. I work part-time, so together, we have a bit of financial wiggle room for the both of us. Up until now, we've never really had a big fight, and I think we've been getting along pretty well. However, things started to look a bit edgy recently. The trouble began after I inherited an apartment from my father who passed away. We've been told to move into that apartment and give up our current home. My father bought a new 2-bedroom apartment when we got married, and he lived there. It's a newly built place, not very spacious, but stylish. The apartment Kevin and I currently live in is my childhood home. My immediate family lived in a 4-bedroom apartment, but my father gave it to me when I got married. I left home for college and returned after getting married to live in my memory-filled childhood home, which has been very special to me. My mother passed away when I was still in college, so my father has been living alone in the family house. When I got married, my dad suggested that he would be living in this condo. I thought he was proposing that we live together, but he firmly refused that idea. He probably didn't want to get in the way of my married life. Then, my father passed away. I inherited the 2-bedroom condo where my father lived. Fortunately, as soon as I put it up for rent, there are tenants already waiting to move in, and the contract was quickly signed. So, I thought we could continue living as it is. However, a year later, my mother-in-law made an unexpected proposal during a visit to her house.
The place where Helen's family lives is getting too small as the kids are growing up. How about letting them live in your 4-bedroom condo?
Helen is Kevin's sister, a single mother raising 3 children. They currently live in a 2-bedroom apartment. Her kids are all in elementary school now, and it's understandable that their current place might feel a bit cramped for 4 people. However, I didn't have a good relationship with Helen. Every time we met, she looked down on me for not having kids. Kevin and I got married just before I turned 30. At that point, her attitude was already bad. But it got even worse after I turned 30.
Can you believe she's 30 and still doesn't have a child? Still no kids? Is she done as a woman?
That was just the beginning of it. The worst was a comment made when my father passed away.
What a disgrace. Not even a grandchild to show your father.
Helen, 3 years older than me, feels more like a mother-in-law than a sister-in-law. Regardless, she is family. So I wanted to get along and had been trying. But after that, I decided to keep my distance away from Helen as much as possible. I had no siblings, and my father was my only blood relative. After my father died, I was struggling both mentally and physically, and instead of comfort, I received insults. Naturally, my impression of her turned sour. I haven't seen her since after my father passed away, so I never expected a proposal like this from my mother-in-law.
She said she'd pay rent, even offering $500 a month.
My mother-in-law, looking pleased as if it was a great deal, left me speechless. Our condo is quite old but has been renovated, so the facilities are nice, and nothing needs to be fixed. It's conveniently located near a complex, and if we were to rent it out, the rent would definitely be over $2,000, and yet, $500. I'm not sure if she's unaware of the market rate or what, but to suggest $500 for a 4-bedroom condo is crazy. Maybe she took my silence as a yes, because my mother-in-law kept pushing the conversation forward.
You have that condo from your father you're renting out, right? You could just move in there. Don't renew the lease. Once you've moved, Helen and her kids can move into your place. How long is the lease, anyway?
Kevin was like, actually, that's a great idea. The condo Dad used to live in is new and stylish, and it's more than enough space for the 2 of us. Hearing the conversation would continue without them asking my opinion of the matter. I asked, isn't there a possibility of them moving in here with you? In reality, my in-laws' place is a single-family home with just my father-in-law and mother-in-law living there. Kevin and Helen's rooms are unused, so it seems there wouldn't be any issue if Helen and her kids will move in. If they really wanted more space, it would seem normal to choose the family home before suggesting we move out of our own place. However, it seems moving to the in-laws would mean the kids have to change schools. They mentioned it would be a waste of money to buy new school uniforms and such. I couldn't outright say I was against running to Helen in front of my mother-in-law, but I did say, "This is where I grew up. I'm comfortable living here." Without saying anything more, we left the in-laws' house that day. Considering what my mother-in-law said, I'm not saying it has to be right now. As we were leaving, she probably hasn't given up at all. As soon as we got back at our condo, I told Kevin, "This is my childhood home, you know. How could you agree so easily?" Kevin seemed surprised, as if he didn't expect me to be angry.
Oh, but it's just a condo, even if you call it your childhood home, right?
I was utterly disappointed by Kevin's response. Above all, he didn't even apologize. It seems Kevin grew up in a detached house. Strongly associates childhood home with just a structure. Seems like he doesn't understand my feelings of the condo as my childhood home. I understand that we grew up in different environments. Maybe that's why he feels this way. But an apology would still be nice. It made me really angry, and I raised my voice. "The condo is my childhood home too. It's my condo, so don't just decide things on your own." Kevin seemed to be annoyed at what I said. "What do you mean my condo? We've been married for 10 years. It's our condo, isn't it?" If he hadn't dismissed my view of this condo as my childhood home, and if he hadn't easily agreed to the idea of renting it to his sister, I might not have minded him calling it our condo. But now, I only felt disgusted when he referred to it as our condo. Despite numerous arguments, we remained at a standoff. Kevin didn't at all consider my feelings and called me things like stingy, stubborn, and mean. Unable to compromise, we spent months without deciding or resolving anything. In the meantime, my mother-in-law kept bugging me. "Have you thought about what we discussed last time?" My mother-in-law and Kevin, both against what I want, are pushing me to my limit. Then one day, I received an email from Helen, who was frustrated with the lack of progress.
Since you don't have kids, a 2-bedroom is enough for you. Living in a 4-bedroom is just too much for 2 people. Just move out already.
Despite not having any contact with Helen since my mother-in-law brought up about the condo, I got this message, without asking nicely or requesting for permission, demanding we move out. Who the fuck does she think she is? Reading the email from Helen, I felt stupid for trying to settle things amicably until now. During our discussions, the thought of divorce crossed my mind multiple times, and each time I tried to suppress my feelings. But that was no longer the case. I went to the municipal office to get a divorce application and then made a certain call. A few days later, I headed to the Legal Affairs Bureau. After obtaining the registry certificates, I found that both the condo we lived in and the one we were renting out were both under my name. Having confirmed that, I decided to give my husband an ultimatum. I've said it many times, but I really don't want to rent this condo to Helen. It's my childhood home. I can't stand the thought of renting it to someone who has looked down on me and have said terrible things. I want you, Kevin, to tell her not to count on this place. Kevin looked really annoyed. That's always his reaction whenever I bring up this topic. When I argued with Kevin, I told him everything Helen had said to me. I thought by telling him, he would understand why I didn't want to rent it to Helen. But that didn't happen. Surprisingly, Kevin said, "But what she was saying isn't wrong either. In hindsight, I should have divorced him right then and there. That way, I wouldn't have had to be stressed so much. But at that moment, I didn't have the courage to leave someone I'd been with for 10 years or to face being single approaching 40. But now it's different. If Kevin refuses my request, then I'll tell him it's over. That is the resolution I was prepared to make."
Do you hate the idea of leaving your childhood home that much? You're just harassing her because you hate Helen. It's your fault for behaving in a way that makes her look down on you. You're just overreacting. It's not like she said something that bad. I can understand how you can be so hateful.
Unaware of my desperate resolve, Kevin said this with a look of disdain. I can't understand Kevin, who never takes my side no matter how many times I explain. Perhaps we can no longer understand each other. Then please fill this out. Saying that, I handed the divorce papers. I thought he might panic or become upset, but upon seeing the divorce papers, Kevin just laughed.
Hey, what's this supposed to mean? You trying to threaten me? You think I'll back down if you say we're getting a divorce?
Kevin seemed to think I wasn't serious about the divorce. This isn't a threat. Even though Helen and I are sisters-in-law, I've always tried not to make a scene, hoping we could get along. But this situation has made it clear that it's impossible. It's the same with your mother and also with you. I can't trust you anymore, and there's no love left. It's over. Pack your things and leave right away. Angered by his laugh, not knowing how serious I am about the divorce, I said this in a rush. I wanted him to leave as soon as possible.
It's not that they don't want to be friends with you. Don't you see this is all because you're being selfish?
Kevin retorted just as strongly. Thinking we were at a stalemate again, I said coldly, enough. We can't understand each other anymore, so whatever each of us will say is useless. You're not trying to understand me, and I can't understand you. Divorce is the only option I see. If you won't sign, I'll file for mediation. Then Kevin yelled, "Cut it out," threw a fit, and stormed out of the house. He didn't sign the divorce papers, nor did he take any of his stuff. He probably just threw in the towel because he was sick of talking. A few days later, just as I thought, Kevin came back. He looked down, seemingly apologetic, and asked, "What should I do?" Maybe he thinks I'll forgive him if he acts submissive. There's nothing left to do. Everything has already been settled. If you agree to the divorce, sign the papers. If not, I'll file for mediation. Also, I've decided to put the condo up for sale. Yes, I've decided to sell my childhood home. The day I went to get the divorce papers, I contacted Mr. Brown, a friend of my father. He was close to my father, and I had met him several times since I was a child. At my father's funeral, Mr. Brown said, "If you ever need anything, just ask," and gave me his business card. The card had the name of a law firm on it, where he works as a lawyer. Thanks to Mr. Brown's referral to a notary public, the process for my father's inheritance went smoothly. When I consulted him about this matter, he took it to heart, advising me to check the condo's ownership and what to do if Kevin refused the divorce. I think his advice gave me the courage to take a firm stand. After Kevin left the house, I decided to sell the condo. I contacted a real estate agency and told them I wanted to sell. I informed Mr. Brown that discussions with Kevin didn't go well. He didn't sign the divorce papers and left without deciding anything. I asked for his help if it came to divorce mediation. When Kevin heard I was selling the condo, he widened his eyes and said, "What?" in a low, intimidating voice, in a very different manner.
After all your talk about it being your childhood home, you're just going to sell it. So it was all insignificant. Then it would have been fine to rent it to Helen, you stingy woman.
Kevin hurled insults, but by then, I was beyond caring about anything he said. So, I replied with a cold look. He tensed up a bit, but didn't seem ready to back down.
Don't just decide to sell it on your own. It might be in your name, but there should be a division of property after divorce. This condo is property we lived in together, right?
To Kevin's assertiveness, I triumphantly said, "Too bad. This condo was put in my name by my father just before we got married. Anything owned before marriage isn't subject to division." I've already confirmed this with a liar. It was hard to let go of my childhood home, but I didn't want to accumulate more bad memories here by holding on to it longer. After consulting with Mr. Brown and learning that this condo wouldn't be subject to division, I was able to decide quickly on selling it. Upon learning the truth, Kevin's attitude flipped, and he pathetically begged,
I was wrong. We don't have to rent it to Helen. It's your precious childhood home after all. Are you sure you want to sell it? Since you're still living here, it hasn't been sold yet, right? Let's not sell it and try to start over again together. I'll talk to Helen and Mom properly, so let's cancel the divorce and not sell the condo.
At this point, I wondered why I had stayed with such a person for 10 years. I was disgusted with myself for having been with him.
Don't say such convenient things. You never once took my side, no matter how many times we talked. It's absolutely impossible to start over with you now. Goodbye. Please pack your stuff and leave right away.
He continued to resist the divorce, so it ultimately dragged into mediation before I could finally got away from Kevin. Now, I'm finally free. I was afraid of being alone. But after getting a divorce, it wasn't so bad. Now, I've bought a new 2-bedroom condo and am living freely as I please.